Our first speaker today is Representative Cecil Brown, who will tell us where the money is so the state legislature can finally fully fund our public schools. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks to MML for having us here today and for MAE for putting this forum together. I know that everybody's a little bit tired of hearing we don't have the money, we can't fund the public schools. I'm certainly tired of it. I've been hearing in the legislature for a number of years. I was a part of the budget committee that underfunded public schools for a number of years during the financial crisis when we were cutting budgets across the state of Mississippi. We cut budgets not only for public schools, but we cut them for really all government services that are funded in part by the state. But it's time to stop that. The money is now available to begin to fund our public schools according to the MAE formula. Now, if you're a new mayor or a new alderman, city council person, you may not be familiar with the history of MAEP, and I won't get into the details of it, but MAEP stands for Mississippi Adequate Education Program. It's a program that was passed twice by the legislature. It has been signed off on by two governors, one Democratic governor and one Republican governor, as being the formula by which public schools should be funded in the state of Mississippi. It's designed to give school districts enough money so that every child has the opportunity to get an adequate education. That's really all it's about. They're not guaranteed success, they're guaranteed the opportunity for success. They're not guaranteed the highest, they're just told we won't give you the lowest. We're going to give you the opportunity to get an adequate education. If we are not funding public schools and it requires MAEP to fund them at an adequate level, it's obvious that we are providing funds at an inadequate level. And it is consistent. We have done it for a number of years, and you'll see on a slide in a minute where we've underfunded our public schools according to the MAEP formula by over $1.5 billion in the last 6 years. $1.5 billion. Next year alone, the 2015 school year, statewide, we will underfund our public schools by $257 million. Now, why are we doing that? That's a very good question. There are funds available to begin to chip away at the shortfall. There are funds available to begin to cut down on the shortfall. This year alone, at the end of the fiscal year, June 30 of the current year, 2014, we will have $480 million in reserves in the state. $480 million at a time when we're underfunding our public schools by $260 million a year. That makes absolutely no sense. Now, I'm not one of those. I'm not a fiscal liberal. I'm not one of those that thinks we need to take $260 million and put it into public schools all in 1 year. But I do believe with the economy increasing, beginning to get better, in fact, our revenues are growing at about 5% a year right now. With that kind of growth, we need to begin to bring down the shortfall, begin to bring our public schools up to where they need to be. Now, you'll have some legislators who are going to tell you, well, we put $70 million more into public schools this coming year. Well, kind of. What we did is we gave a teacher pay raise of $62 million, and then we put $8 million into other services. What that means is you got $62 million more in the system, but none of it went to pay for books, none of it went to pay for utilities, none of it went to pay for school buses, none of it went to pay for hiring new teachers, none of it went to pay for Common Core. It's all just kind of out there. $62 million that went to the teachers, which is a great thing, but we didn't give pay raises for teacher assistants, and we didn't give pay raises for janitors or people who work in the cafeteria. We didn't do any of that. So if they got pay raises, that came out of the other existing funds at the school district. So what has happened as a result of us underfunding public schools? Well, as the mayor said, some school districts have had tax increases, and you're a municipal government, so you know that you really have no control over that. The school board does that. The school board decides whether they want a tax increase or not, and you just kind of have to sign off on it and say, okay, we'll go with a tax increase. So some school districts have done that. Other school districts have laid off teachers and other employees. 3 years ago, school districts laid off 2,000 people in Mississippi. 2,000 people who had jobs, lost their jobs. We surveyed. That's how I know that. We got the State Department to survey it. 2,000 people who had jobs lost their jobs, including 800 teachers, because they didn't have the adequate resources to pay them. We don't need to let that happen again. Now, I'm not going to take a lot of time with this, but there's a constitutional amendment that we hope will be voted on. It's called Better Schools, Better Jobs. It is a constitutional amendment we hope will be on the ballot in the year 2015 that will let the people of the state of Mississippi decide whether or not they want to make funding public schools a priority in this state. It will require the state to fully fund MAP. Now, the proposal, and you'll see the language in the proposal on the ballot. If it gets to the ballot, and you'll see it. By the way, you can sign up in this hall, this exhibition hall, straight across the way up here. Go in there and sign the petition, which I'm going to do when I leave here. Sign the petition. We got to have 110,000 signatures of registered voters and people across the state of Mississippi to get it on the ballot. If that happens, it'll go to the legislature. The legislature will have to consider the language, but it will be on the ballot next year, and your citizens will have an opportunity to vote on that. The proposal simply says that in the future, 25% of new money that comes to the state will go to cut down on shortfall. Nothing to take away from existing programs, other programs. 75% of all new revenues can go to other programs, go to anything the legislature wants to do with it. But 25% of it has to go to cut down the shortfall. That's what the proposal is. I hope you will support that. I know how important schools are to you and your community. I certainly know how important schools are to those of us who have worked in this field for a long period of time, which is everybody at this table. So I would hope to have your support for that initiative. You can get access. There's a Better Schools, Better Job website. They're also on Facebook. If you need somebody to come collect signatures in your town, I'm sure that Anna Maria or Joyce or Frank or somebody here will be able to help you get somebody to come to your town to get signatures. We need your help in getting that done. We're going to have time for questions later, so I'll be happy to try to answer questions at that time. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Representative Brown. You've been a champion for education in our state, and we appreciate all of your efforts.